Well, hey, everybody, I'm Holly Tate, Senior Vice President of Growth here at Leadr. And today I am joined by Brittany from the Craighead Electric team. Brittany, thanks for being with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, Brittany, I'd love to start out and just kind of have you share your story, a little bit about you, your role, and Craighead Electric.
Okay, well, my name is Brittany McNamee. I'm the Vice President of Human Resources here. I've been with Criaghead Electric right at 6 years. Lots of changes happening. And we're really excited to be doing those changes with Leadr. Criaghead Electric is a not-for-profit electric utility company. So way back in 1936, the REA was founded, the Rural Electrification Act, through FDR. That's when we got members to energize our first line. And so to kind of put that in perspective, in 1937, membership dues were $5, which was a lot of money in 1937. So people would trade goods, animals, produce to get that membership. In order to move forward as a cooperative, you had to have 612 members. When we energized our first line, we had 712 members who used about 27 kilowatts a month. And to put that in perspective, now we have about 32,000 members who use about 1,300 kilowatts a month. So membership and kilowatt usage has increased. And then, we take care of our members, we take care of our communities. That's what's really important to us. And we realized that there was a need for internet in rural areas also. The internet in rural areas was terrible. So we got a subsidiary called Empower Broadband. And we had built fiber out to our rural communities to have them have better internet as well. So we're really proud of both of those things and taking care of all the communities that we serve and our members, and customer service is number one to us here.
That is incredible. I always love learning about the electricity world because I don't know anything about it. And every time I talk to our customers that are in that world, I'm like, this is fascinating and so important. So important. And so you guys are, I can't do the math on that. Is it 70 or 80 years old?
Yeah, 86.
86. That's incredible. So talk to me about, in the 6 years that you have been at Craighead, how many employees are you guys at now?
We are, if you consider us and the subsidiary, we're right at 150 employees. Criaghead Electric has about 110, and then the rest is our subsidiary.
Okay. So I can imagine over the last 6 years, you've probably faced lots of opportunities and challenges when it comes to HR and leading all of the people. Talk to me about before life with Leadr. What were some of the people challenges that you and Jeremiah, your CEO, were facing before life with Leadr?
I think in general, a struggle is change. Even people that don't like change, or do like change, they don't like change,
Yeah.
So through lots of changes in leadership, people retiring, processes is changing, that change affected people. And the best way to address change and make people feel comfortable with it is communication. And before Leadr, we tried, but we might have missed the mark a little bit. And through Leadr, we've been able to effectively communicate to a broad audience, not only them hearing us, but us hearing them and the things that they need from us.
That is great. Yes, as someone who always says, yes, I love change, and then I stop and go, you know what? It's still uncomfortable for all of us. Anything that changes our habits or it changes our world, and work is such a big part of our life. Even if it's good change, it still is change, and navigating that from a leadership perspective can be challenging, especially in high growth seasons, when we're acquiring subsidiaries or when we're adding new business lines or hiring people or restructuring. Those are all changes that can be good, but can also be hard for our team. So what was it that caused you all to start exploring potential solutions to helping navigate the changes that your team was going through?
When Jeremiah came on as CEO, he really wanted that employee engagement. He wanted to build morale, and he wanted to communicate with our employees in a more meaningful way. So we started shopping different softwares, and through the process, we came upon Leadr. I'm not sure who reached out, if I reached out or if you guys reached out, but we started those conversations. And what really stuck out to us about Leadr was the customer service. Like I had said before, that's what we do. We provide quality customer service and we take care of our members. And we want to feel that way when we're a customer too. And Leadr made us feel that way. And that's what really stuck out to us in the initial process of picking Leadr as our software.
That's great. And talk to me, so it sounds like you and Jeremiah or when Jeremiah came on as CEO, was really looking for software around employee engagement and culture. One of the things that we run into a lot is our clients before Life with Leadr, they're struggling to measure that because it can feel so, just hard to measure, nebulous. So how are you guys measuring that before? Was it something that you had, goals or KPIs around, or was it kind of just gut feel? What did that look like, Life before Leadr?
It was just gut feeling. We didn't really have any way to track that or to track our goals. We did have meetings with our employees, and we do have our supervisors are pretty much in the daily grind. So they're seeing their direct reports on a regular basis. But are those conversations being carried? Are you taking it back to your desk and remembering that? Or is it just like a passing hi, good morning, and then you forget about it? So that was our goal, was to make it unforgettable, to make it stick with you and not just be a passing conversation.
That is great. So tell me about what it was like to be with Leadr. You guys have now been with Leadr for over a year, going on 2 years now. So now that we're about 2 years removed from signing up with Leadr, what has that been like? Walk us through kind of the last, year and a half to 2 years of life with Leadr.
So like I said before, change is hard. So we didn't want to cannonball into the process. We just kind of dipped our toes in a little at a time to get used to things. So we started with our leadership team and made them start doing one-on-ones. That was our first priority, was one-on-ones. And so then once we got our leadership team used to it, we introduced it to all of our employees, and they started doing one-on-ones with their supervisors. But it was mainly driven by the supervisors. The supervisor was adding the agenda topics, and the employee was just a part of the meeting. Then after everybody kind of got used to that, we realized that there was people that needed meetings differently. Our supervisors needed those biweekly or weekly meetings. But the direct reports to the supervisors felt like biweekly was a little bit too much for them, and they didn't have a lot to say. But by doing it once a month, they were able to get more out of the meeting. So we made those changes, and then we were like, okay, employees, now you're going to add an agenda topic too. And if you come to your supervisor and you don't have an agenda topic, they're going to say, hey, go right to your desk, come see me in 10 minutes with an agenda topic. So of course, there was some grumbling there. But once we got them doing that, now they're adding more than one agenda topic, and they're just really getting a lot more out of those one-on-ones. And with the very first thing that we did with Leadr was our review process. And so the first year we did the review process, it was kind of like we had always done. But then when we did the review process this year, we have all that history from our one-on-ones every month from the past year. So sometimes when you do a review, it's like, well, what is this? I'm doing great. And you're like, well, back in March, you weren't doing great, but here's this now. And you can also add happies. It doesn't just have to be when you weren't doing great, but you have all that history in your one-on-ones. And that makes the evaluation process so much more valuable. So that was step one. One-on-ones was our first step. Then we started doing the insight surveys. And through that, we were able to see what our employees needed from us. And insights is just super valuable to us, and to see how it changes each quarter. So one-on-ones and insights. Then our next step was feedback. Once we started doing feedback, again, we started on the supervisor level and then dipped our toes in with the employees. And with feedback, you don't have to go through 100 emails to find that conversation that you had. It's in the feedback tab. And we're also in the middle of working on a strategic plan. And through that, those groups can do feedbacks and get ideas from people without actually having a meeting. And it just saves some time. And in 2024, we're looking at goals to be our next thing that we push to our employees. People do use goals now, but we're not making you use goals at this time. So what's great is that y'all just updated your goals, and now there's team goals and organizational goals. And with our strategic plan, those organizational goals are going to be super beneficial, so everybody can kind of see the process of the plan. So we're super excited about that. So that's a little bit about how we started our Leadr journey, and we're still figuring it out. And there's still some things that aren't fully utilized, but we wanted to perfect one thing at a time so that we didn't overwhelm our employees.
I want to dig in. I'm going to dig in a little bit on insights, because that one is a key, especially with all the people metrics and stuff. So tell me about when you guys started using insights and sent out those pulse surveys. First of all, what was the team's reaction to that initially? Was it like, what are you doing, Brittany? Is this big brother? Are you going to have all this data? What was their reaction?
Yeah, so a lot of the pushback on insights was, you're going to know what I say. You're going to see that. We're like, no, it's anonymous. It's going to Leadr. We don't know. So getting them over that hurdle of being like completely open and honest was kind of hard, because they didn't want me seeing that they were talking bad about something or anything like that. And it's real quick. It takes, 5 minutes, not even that long. It's like 3 questions, click, click, click. And, I explained to them in the all-employee meeting, they're going to ask these questions. You're going to be asked the same question more than once, because they're going to see if your answers change. It's completely anonymous, and this is just for us to know what you need. So please be open and honest. I can tell in some quarters that we have more participation than others. But going and clicking into those departments and seeing where there's dissatisfaction or where people are really happy, has just been really great for our CEO to know the areas that we need to concentrate on, especially getting that information last year before we launched the strategic plan and seeing the areas that we needed to dig into more.
Yes, because it's so helpful to not just have to go by gut or intuition, but to actually have that data so that your executive team can then make a plan directly based on that data that you received. So talk to me about what kind of data are you guys getting from insights that's informed the strategic plan you're working on?
It has told us that we need to focus on succession management, in that people don't feel like they're shorthanded, and that we may need to make a department a little fat for a minute before someone retires, so that when they leave, it's not such a scramble and people aren't panicking to do their jobs. And that was one of the biggest things that I think that we noticed, is that people didn't want to feel out of control when a tenured employee were to leave. A big focus in our strategic plan was the succession management, as well as our safety program. Our industry is very dangerous for outside employees, and we do have a great safety program, but being able to get a safety committee that knows all about those things and can make group decisions was also something that we pulled out of insights, and we're focusing heavily on.
I love how specific those two things are. How would you have known that otherwise without insights?
Right. Yeah, it makes a huge difference.
That's wonderful. Well, Brittany, I also really appreciate the intentionality of how you didn't just roll it out to the team all at once, but you actually, just drip, drip, drip and brought your team along on the journey. And that's so important, especially for an 86-year-old company.
Yeah.
That is a great way to bring the team along. How did you said customer success was a really important part, customer service was an important part of you choosing Leadr. How did our customer success team walk alongside you throughout onboarding and then, as you go month to month with Leadr?
So I'm a bit of a questionator, overthinker maybe, but we started out with Courtney Baldwin, and kudos to her because she's fabulous and she has answered all my questions. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. And she's like, don't be sorry. We'll take care of you. And that's been perfect. Just the ability for them to answer my questions. And if they don't know the answer, say, hey, I don't know, but I'm going to find out. And it's not a month before they find out. Like, I hear from them really regularly, and meet with them pretty often. And they keep me up to date. The Leadr Pulse, that comes out kind of keeps you on top of things, and just being informed, just like we're trying to do with our employees, helps us so much in this process with Leadr.
That is awesome. Well, Brittany, I would love to hear any other, other VP of HRs or CEOs or COOs that are that are watching this today that are thinking about moving forward with Leadr, but just aren't quite sure with their team, which a lot of the concerns we hear are it'll be a change for their team. They'll be asking their team to operate in different ways than they're used to. And so what would you say to those leaders that really want to move forward with Leadr, but are concerned about what their team may think?
Get on the train. The Leadr train is great. We love it. And I mean, we were concerned about that too. We had lots of changes going on in our organization, and making another change seemed a bit much. But when we made that change, it helped all the other things going on so much. Like I said, you can't do everything all at once. Do one thing at a time, ease your employees into it, and it's so beneficial. It will help you more than you know. It is a change that is definitely worth it. I would say thank you, thank you, thank you. You guys are great. Your customer service is exceptional. That's my favorite part, is just the ability for you guys to hear us and to go find out if you can help us in that way, being open and honest, and just always here for it. Because sometimes you can ask questions to people and you can tell that they're like, oh my gosh, this lady has another question. But you guys never make me feel that way. And I just really appreciate that. And all the time that you spend to keep improving Leadr and to take care of your customers.